All right, class. We're going to finish up and do part two of the outlining. And what we have going on here, reposition my microphone. Okay, and what we have going on here is we've already sketched out the basic outlines, and so now we're going to go in and fill in the gaps using the first reading assignment. I'm not going to do the whole thing for you because I want you to do some work as well, but I'll do the first two sections with you, and then we'll go from there. So the first section is there's always an introduction every chapter, and usually in the introduction it gives you a very, 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 very brief summary as to what the chapter is going to be about. And so we can easily go through and type that up real quick. So it talks about Christ after the resurrections, the apostles were afraid. What were they afraid of? Persecution. Some doubted. Christ remained for a period of time. Jesus sends and then that takes us to the next part under the introduction, which would be Pentecost. We can repeat some information here. And please feel free to abbreviate. So where I just put HS, know that it stands for the Holy Spirit. Okay, so there we have the first introduction outlined, and it didn't take us too long, just took us a few minutes. And this is all you really need to know. And if you look closely, there are two ways you can do the outlines. There's number one, where you just use words and phrases, not complete sentences, or you can use complete sentences or a combination of the two. So there's really three ways you can do it. The main thing is that you should be able to look back over your outline and figure out what was going on here. The apostles were afraid of persecution, and even then you can maybe get more specific by deleting afraid and just saying, well, the apostles, they were afraid of persecution, and then they also doubted the resurrection. Not all of them did, but some of them did. All right, let's go on to the Jews, which is part 2 in our chapter, in chapter 1, and type up what it says about the Jews here. It says they're monotheistic, they had a personal God, special role in God's plan. So the Jews believe they had a special, unique role. They were waiting for the Messiah. And they shunned the pagan and feel free, as what I'm doing here as an example, to go back and add in something you maybe want to emphasize. So I went back and I'm going to write down that the Jews had many, and then I'm going to write down something you maybe want to emphasize. So I went back and I'm going to write down that the Jews had many, and then I'm going to write down something you maybe want to emphasize. So I went back and I'm going to write down that the Jews had many, and then I'm going to write down something you maybe want to emphasize. So I went back and I'm going to write down that the Jews had many, and then I'm going to write down something you maybe want to emphasize. So I went back and I'm going to write down that the Jews had many, and then I'm going to write down something you maybe want to emphasize. So I went back and I'm going to write down that the Jews had many, and then I'm going to write down something you maybe want to emphasize. So I went back and I'm going to write down that the Jews had many, and then I'm going to write down something you maybe want to emphasize. So I went back and I'm going to write down that the Jews had many, and then I'm going to write down something you maybe want to emphasize. So I went back periods of suffering. All right, now point F, here's the Jewish culture of the time of Christ. Let's do at the time of Christ. And the textbook does a good job of giving you a few points on what the Jewish culture was at the time of Christ. So we want to make note of those because this is going to be very important for laying the foundations for the rest of Christianity from here on out. So we demote it once to lowercase I. Now we're going to demote a second time, indent a second time, and we're going to highlight how, in what ways is it not the same as Judaism is not the same in the at the time of Christ as it was in the Old Testament. All right, and there we have it. We have a couple spelling mistakes we need to go back and correct. Sorry, the microphone just fell. And the spelling corrections are corrected now, and the outline for the first two sections is complete. So feel free to use this, and you're responsible for the next point 3, 4, and 5, as well as the subpoints underneath the church, and I'll leave those for you to do. So this brings us to the end of part 2 on how to outline, and of course if you have any questions, please pass by my room and see me, or drop me an email, whichever you'd like to do. So have a good day, good morning, and a good evening, whatever time of day it might be, and this is Mr. Catalanato from room 202.